All right, we're on a series. We wanted to take a moment during this month to look at some of the early teachings and awarenesses of Jesus that we see in the Aquarian Gospel. So the first Sunday, we talked about the beautiful golden cord that runs through the Ten Commandments that he saw when he was under 12 years old. So we know he's under 12 because he hasn't had that moment of becoming a man in the temple. So he has this ability to see, to feel, and to understand the energy of God as love. And he teaches and shares that with everybody who tries to teach him. Then last week, Patrick talked about when he was 12 years old, a man named Ravana came and took him to India to learn. And he was with the Brahmic priests. And he studied there for a while. We know he was between, over 12, under 16 probably. 12 to 16, and he one day said to the priest, explain your caste system. And then Jesus told the priest that did not make sense to him because his God loved everybody. And so this is when Jesus, when he's a young teenager, starts to get disfavored. They invite him to leave, and he does, and he leaves the temple where he has been fed, cared for, no problem with anything, and goes out into the people, the common people, and the common people take him in. The Sudras and the farmers, they take him in, and they feed him, and he teaches them, and they love him. And then the Brahmic priests think, we got to get him out of town because he's starting to turn the common people into a new path. So that's when, as Patrick shared with you last week, he exited. So this is where we pick up this week. He has gone to Nepal, a place in India, and what happens is he is immediately faced with the Buddhist religion. And the Buddhist priests open the door to the temple. They've heard about this young Hebrew boy. They think he's fabulous, and they welcome him to come in, and he starts to learn about their faith and their world. So in this time, we know he's probably between 16 and 24, because we know when he's 24, and it's several chapters later. So he's probably a young teenage man. And you can hear it in his voice, which I'll show you in a minute. But the priest welcome him in, and he loves them. He always loves the priests. But he has a conversation with one, and I wanted to share this with you. This is in chapter 32. He's talking with a man named Bharata, and Bharata is teaching Jesus, or discussing with Jesus, the possibilities of man, that man is a marvel, that man came from the mind of God, that there was a time when man did not exist, and that man has been coming back and forth through centuries to evolve, and man has been animal, and man has been plant, and man has been all these various forms of life. And this is what the Buddhist priest is telling Jesus. And Jesus says to him, who taught you this? That mind, which is the man, may manifest in the flesh of beast or bird or creeping thing. And Bharata said, from times which man remembers not, our priests have told us so, and so we know. And Jesus said, enlightened Arabo, are you a mastermind and do not know that man knows nothing by being told? Man may believe what others say, but thus he never knows. If a man would know, he must himself be what he knows. You guys hear me? The idea of embodying experience to become your reality, your truth. I don't know if you guys have been around children when they're about between 11 to 14. They tend, maybe not this generation, but when I'm seasoned, so when I was coming up and many years after that, the children would begin to mimic the opinions of the parents. They would take on the positions politically. They would take on the positions religiously. They would take on the social positions. And they mimicked it until they got to be teenagers, and then they rebelled against it. But do you see what I'm saying? As the children are mimicking the guidance of the parents, do the children know what they're doing? Do they know what they're talking about? Because they don't know it. Because it's not a part of them. It's something they're merely out picturing. And Jesus is saying, to know, you have to experience it. And that's why when he was a little fellow in the Jewish faith, he didn't mimic the Jewish faith. He would go to God and say, teach me, God. And then he would know. Because remember the Jewish priest asked him, how do you know? And Jesus said, I don't know that truth ever is withheld from anybody. Just shut your eyes and ask, and God will show you. You see? So he's teaching this Buddhist priest about touching the intuition so that you can embody the truth that comes to you. And we've all had experiences of that, yes? We've also had experiences of mimicking somebody else's truth as our own, which does not bring you fulfillment, does it? Okay. He goes on to teach this particular priest, and there are many people around watching him. He goes on to teach him about, I'm going to paraphrase it. Children of God, we came from the mind of God. There was never a time when we were not. We were always one with God. We come and we have incarnations, correct, but we do not transmigrate. Transmigration is going from one species to another. We are man. Man is man is man is man. Man's never a bird. Man's never anything other than man. And yes, it is man's job to come and then evolve back to that relationship of oneness with God, to become our God-like selves. So he's teaching this. And everybody's listening to him. And then one of the priests who I love, and I probably am not pronouncing it correctly, his name is Vijayapati, based on my calculations. And he says this, you priest, listen to me. We stand today upon a crest of time. 6 times ago, a master soul was born who gave us the glory light to men, and now a master sage stands here. This Hebrew prophet is the rising star of wisdom deified. He brings to us a knowledge of the secret things of God, and all the world will hear his words and will heed his words. You priests, be still and listen when he speaks. He is the living oracle of God. So Vijayapati stands forth through recognize, and is he listening to his inner truth? Yes. He's listening to his inner truth. He sees the inner truth of this young man, and he says, guys, pay attention. This is what we've been waiting for. And so Jesus now has an open ear in the Buddhist priest world for a minute. So what has just happened with Patrick's service, the caste system? Jesus went into a system of the caste, and he erased it. Like, that's not what God does. Now he's come into the Buddhist system, and he's erased the idea of transmigration, reincarnation into animals. It's like, that's not what my God does. Erase that. Do you see what's foundationally being shifted? The idea of separation from God and the idea of needing to earn and not have God be a part of you in this lifetime, needing to earn through walking and through working. And do you hear what I'm saying? He's erasing all of that. Do you think the foundational precepts of this country is being shattered? Among the common people, indeed. They are quite enamored with him. They love him. The next chapter is the chapter I talked to you guys all about a lot, because it's about the people who are toiling and they have no joy at all. He says, why are you so unhappy? And then he says, they say, we got to wait till we die to go to Buddha's rest in the heavens. And Jesus says, cease to seek for heaven in the skies. Open up your heart, and a boundless joy will come from within you, and your task will bring you joy. And that's what he teaches them. And I go over that one a lot. But I wanted to tell you the parable he gives them afterwards, because this is an important point. He tells them a parable. I will paraphrase. This is chapter 33 if you want to read it. Because they say, tell us how to do that. How do we become happy? We don't know how to do this. And he says, there was a farmer who worked on his farm every day, and he toiled ceaselessly, and the crop was barely enough to feed his family. That's all he did. A miner came by and said, hey, do you not know that underneath your soil there's gold and gems? You have a mine under there. And the farmer believed him. And the farmer began to dig because he trusted the wisdom of the miner. And the farmer found the gold and all of the treasures that were hidden underneath. And Jesus, that's a parable, right? And Jesus says this: the sons of men are toiling hard on the desert plains and burning sands and rocky soils. They are doing what their fathers did and not dreaming they can do anything else. We are repeating and repeating and repeating what we were taught, what we know. And how much did the world define you when you were a little creature coming up? How much were you defined by the world around you? You know, we were. Whether you realize it or not, we have to fight that definition. We have to redefine ourselves at some point. But within each person, a master will come and show you there is hidden wealth inside you. In the heart of every person, rich gems abound, and who can open the door will find them. And the people were enamored, they were excited, they were ready to open their hearts and find their treasures. I know we think we're good. I know we think we're fabulous. I know we think that we've just really overcome so much as metaphysical Christians. But the patterns of the definition that we have sucked in as children and as young adults are so strong that typically when I'm talking with you and counseling with you, we have a hard time pivoting. You guys hear that word all the time from business people, pivot. If it's not working, pivot. We tend to repeat. Pivoting's hard. Repeating is easy. It's easier to repeat something we're uncomfortable with because it's familiar. And why? Because you know you're going to live. Yes, it hurts like hell. Yes, I don't like it, but I know I'll survive it because I have the tools to survive this pain. Well, why don't you not do the pain? I might not survive that. So it's easier to repeat than pivot. And that, if you think about it, if you think about the parable that you are on the soil trying to plant something that will not grow, instead of going within to see what is inside me that I could possibly bring forward. What gift is inside me that I could possibly bring forward? Are you guys with me? Has anybody found yourself repeating unsafe spaces just because they're familiar? Yeah. Never? Okay. All right. Okay. If you really start to look within your own heart at who you are, you cannot be defined by anyone in the world. Do you know that? No one can define you because no one understands. They are not you. They don't walk in your world. They don't walk in your heart. They don't know your gifts and talents and abilities. They can see how they benefit from them. Yes. And they can define you based on what you can provide for them. Yes. But who you are as a being of light, they have no idea. They can only find who they are. And imagine that if we withhold our treasures from ourselves because someone else has told us no. I was doing my own healing the other day, and I hit some past energies from past lives. And it was a priesthood saying, you're unworthy, you're unworthy, you're unworthy, you're unworthy, you're unworthy, and you're not important, you're not important, you're not important. And it's like, I see that clearly. I am, in fact, not important to you. No doubt about it. I'm not important to you, to your faith, to your religion. I get it. But I'm important to me. Do you see? And we have all kinds of people that we could line up that tell us we're not important. And it's okay. Don't be important to them. Be important to you. Let your light, your inner treasures come forward. Okay. So this is the parable he tells the toilers. They have a light inside they can harvest. All right. Then in chapter 32, it's a big celebration. And Jesus is watching a big religious hoopla. And he says, as the priests go by, they embellish little truths with many words. And then he talks about the gorgeous pageantry of the situation. And have you guys ever seen a religious ceremony that's like really way cool? I've had people come here over the last 30 years and say, I miss the incense, Cindy, of the guy walking up the hall. And I miss the pageantry of it. It's like, well, go there then. I love you, but, do that every once a month then, if that's what you need, because you won't get that here. But it was big then. It was big in that energy. So he's talking to them about it, and then he does another parable in the middle of God and everybody. He tells this parable about a vineyard with beautiful, gorgeous plant, and the leaves are full, and no sun can get down to the roots, and how it needs to be trimmed back for fruit to grow. And then he says, and the religious rites that you have are like the big leaves covering the plant so the sun cannot come in. And the people went, wow, he's right. Because if you cut it all back, you'll get great fruit. And the priest went, uh-oh, he's right. But what does that do to their livelihood? What does that do to the pageantry? What does that do to the baseline of their religious? Yeah. So the priests are not happy with him. So the Buddhists turn as well. Because as long as Jesus' ideas were about brotherhood, it's like, that's okay. But when we have to change our worship to allow him to be here, that's not okay. It's not okay. You with me? Okay. Jesus is talking to Vijayapati, the priest, one of the main guys, and they're by themselves. And Jesus, I'm telling you here, I'm saying he's probably 16, 17, 18, because I've heard this from young men a lot in my years of counseling. This is that teenage. Jesus said, the coming age will surely not require priests and shrines and the sacrifice of life, that sacrifice of animals, which they did as well. There's no power in sacrifice of beast or bird to help man in the holy life. Vijayapati said this, all forms and rites are symbols of the things that men must do within the temple of the soul. He knew why we're doing this right now is an outward action of what needs to be done within. And we needed to give them something. They needed to do something outwardly to keep them moving toward changing inwardly. He's very smart. And he says, Vijayapati, the Holy One requires man to give his life in willing sacrifice for men, and then all the other offerings and altars and shrines won't be necessary. We have to love one another, is basically what it means. We have to love each other. Vijayapati is talking. The perfect age will not require forms and rites and carnal sacrifice. The coming age is not the perfect age. Men will call for object lessons and symbolic rites, and in this great religion you shall introduce. Some simple rites of washing and remembrances will be required, but the cruel sacrifice of animals and birds and gods require not. And this is Jesus, the teenage young man. Our God must loathe the tinseled show of priests and priestly things. When men array themselves in showy garbs to indicate that they are servants of gods and strut around like gaudy birds to be admired, the Holy One must surely turn away in sheer disgust. All people are alike. All people are alike the servants of our Father God. Everyone is a king and a priest. Do you hear the boy? Will not the coming age demand the destruction of the priestly caste as well as every other caste and equality among the sons of men? And Vijayapati said this, our wise teacher. The coming age is not the age of spirit life, and men will pride themselves in wearing priestly robes and chanting pious chants to advertise themselves as saints. The simple rites that you will introduce will be extolled by those who follow you, until the sacred service of the age will far outshine the gorgeousness of the priestly service that you see now. What you are going to introduce will be so simple and so sincere, yet man needs it to be pageantry, and it is going to be bigger than what you're seeing. That's a problem men must solve. But the perfect age will come when every man will be a priest, and men will not array themselves in the piety garb, a special garb to advertise their piety. Okay. Can you see the young man? You guys remember being that young man? Ladies, do you remember being that young man? What we're watching is Jesus' beginning to understand the purpose that is in front of him. when he went first to deal with the caste system, he said, caste no, brotherhood yes. Then he went to deal with transmigration as animals. No. Man is a sacred child of God. Then, following the rules of your ancestors, the toilers, no. Go within, go beyond the cultural expectations. Who are you? What are your assets? And find the wealth within your own heart. Do you know by being told? No. You know by the divine experiencing and the divine knowledge that comes to you. Religions are led by priests? No. Every man will eventually become his own priest. The constructs of a belief system that he is outlying in his mind will set the foundation for the age that he will begin, so that mankind can begin to shift over the next 2,000 plus years to move into a perfect age. But we had to go through that middle space. So I'm going to read the constructs again. And I want you to ask yourself, how successful have we been in 2,000 years? Brotherhood. We're all brothers and sisters. Man is a sacred child of God. Go within. Go beyond your cultural expectations and find out who you are. What are your assets? What wealth do you have within you? You know by the divine experiencing and the divine knowledge that can flow through to you. You are your own priest. How have we done? Do we live those as metaphysical Christians? Do we live brotherhood? Do we live checking our inner guidance? Do we? We try. This is the construct of the mindset that had to change. This is the changed mindset that Jesus began to introduce into race consciousness. And I want you to become aware, he's not yet 24 and he has done no healings yet. The healings start in a couple chapters when he goes to study with Mingst in China. That's when the healings begin. But the mindset has to be laid out first. With this mindset, we have the opportunity to access the love, the light of God. We have the opportunity to move energy. We have the opportunity to become the magnet for good. All the energy work that we seek to do on this earth plane, for our own pleasure, whatever, we have the opportunity to do with this mindset. You guys hear me? I cannot tell you 34 years of counseling with you guys. All you guys. I cannot tell you how, I won't say it's unanimous, but it's pretty close. Most counseling is founded in unworthiness. I'm not worthy. When I was a young pup in counseling at 30 with my minister, before I was ordained, I always said, well, I haven't been trained in anything. And she goes, well, what are you good at? I said, I'm good at praying. I pray on a dime. You want to pray? I'll pray. Let's pray. I'm praying. I'm good at that. And she said, then that's what you do. I said, but I'm not skilled at anything other than in the accounting. I don't have training in anything. And she said, well, good. You don't have to unlearn anything. And that's what she said. Now go within. Follow what is guiding you. Unpack your stuff. No one could see me, and I couldn't see me. Do you know? My path was a blinded path. Show me the next step, God, because it's all I can see. I can't see beyond that. How much can people really see of you? How many talents latent within you do you need to unpack? So you can be whatever it is. A master roller skater, I do not care. It doesn't matter. It's whatever makes you happy. If it's frivolous in the mind of the world, it doesn't matter. If you're leading the world, it doesn't matter. What matters is what's within you gets to express. When we can have the mindset of brotherhood, let's think about that. You've had 2 weeks to deal with the caste system. Have you judged anybody last 2 weeks? No. Okay. Hyper aware. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Watch yourself, watch your words, watch your thoughts with the brotherhood. This week, I want you to really think about reincarnation. Do you want to? Are you doing what you came to do? Or do you want to come back another time and do that very same lesson again? Nobody signing up? Well, then let's finish it. Let's finish it and pass on to another one. Let's get another fun lesson for the next one. In this lifetime, as who you are today. Finish, move on, unpack. And know that you are an eternal expression. You are an eternal expression. You have all eternity to do this, but you got to do it at some point. Okay? And then I would also invite you to do something in your unpacking, do something unique to you that you've not done this week. Everybody has an urge, don't you? You know, if mine was cooking, I'd cook, but it's not. It's not. But do you know there's something that you're not doing that you could just do maybe a little bit of? Unpack something. Because until we can realize that we are here by divine appointment, we have absolutely sculpted this lifetime to be exactly what we need for what we need to learn right now today. It's absolutely perfect for us now. Choose again. Pivot or repeat, it's your choice. Pivot or repeat, your choice. And move back into the principles. You are the eternal child of God. We all live in brotherhood. Bless the person who's antagonizing you the worst. Free them. Thank you. Yes, to you I may be awful. Thank you. To me I'm not. Okay? And let's try to move into that beautiful symmetry of getting the divine knowledge, the divine experiences, and becoming your own priest. Simple. Can you see the mindset? Okay. I want to anchor this in. This was a little lesson class today. So I want to anchor it in with our quick little meditation. And as you breathe, just begin to feel that beautiful love of God surrounding you. Feel your own light that engulfs you. Take a moment to notice the color that comes forward. And just imagine that you can lift up into a higher space. Just a beautiful space of light and ease. You're still in your own energy, just out of the body for a moment, just lifting up. And in this moment, the love of God all around you, imagine that you can begin to just feel perhaps one idea or one thought in your heart. One idea, one thought of who you are. I'm not who I was told I am. And as you hear or sense or feel, it may be just a sensation. That is still information. Your brain understands. Let the sensation just come out. And just ask, is there any step I can take to manifest this energy of good from within me? And just listen. It may surprise you. Is there any step I can take to manifest this energy? Feel the love of God around you and feel that you are good. The light of God is in my heart. I am one with that light, and I am good. And if you did not get an answer, you will, because you have asked. Breathe that beautiful light of your own energy and feel the love of God pouring through it. Breathe it into your consciousness, and let's come back down into your body. And let that beautiful light become stronger within the physical vehicle of who you are. I am the eternal child of God. And I am grateful. Breathe. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Well, I hope you found or felt something. And I have one more assignment for you. As you're going about this week, I want you to look at the caste system. Look at the limitations that you are not what you need to be. Look at someone who's defining you. And look at all of these things with love. That is not the truth of me. I am God's child. In love. Not in wall building, not in judgment. In love. Can you do it?
Yes.
Yay, God.